Florida woman crawled out my hotel mirror to rob me. This past Monday, my coworkers and I returned to our hotel from a day of work out in the field. Rebecca and I walked to our rooms, and as we stood outside of our rooms, I opened mine and saw someone in the bathroom. I said, "Hello?" Nobody answered. My first instinct was that it was a cleaning lady in there for some reason, and then I saw my bag with my clothes in her hands. I said to my coworker, "There's a woman inside my room." Then I asked the woman, "What are you doing with my stuff?" It gets a little fuzzy here because I can't remember everything I said and then what she said, but she kept mumbling about how her keys worked and how it still worked, and that's how she got in. I was in shock, and she was obviously very flustered, having been caught mid-robbery. She dropped my bags and fumbled around with her purse and a white plastic bag. By this time, my coworker was behind me, watching all this insanity unfold. This woman was scrambling and walking towards the door, and I said, "What's in the bag?" I'm thinking it's probably my stuff, and so she said, No, it's just my things, I'll show ya." And so she did. I looked and I didn't see anything of mine, and so since I'm obviously in shock at this time, I let her leave. I went into my room and it's been ransacked. I did a quick look around to see if anything had been taken. All my electronics were still there. Then I went into the bathroom and I saw my underwear, my bikini, and my clothes shoved into my own bags randomly. Even my passport was shoved in there as well. Then I looked on the counter and I saw that she got into my medications. I'm not sure what was going through my head at that moment other than I wanted it back. So I ran out the door to go find her. I ran to the laundry room downstairs and out to the sides of the hotel, and I did not see her. I realized I was never going to find her, so my coworker and I went to the lobby to tell them what happened, and then we called the police. We went back to my room to wait, and I noticed there was a metal bat on my bed and a little larger one of those novelty wooden bats you can get at a baseball game, so there's also a flashlight on the end. She must have left it in her hurry, I guess. She also left behind her necklace that must have fallen out of her bag when she was scrambling with mine. I was mostly freaking out at this point that I thought she'd gone away with my medication that I need. The police got there and took our statements and looked around the room as well. One thing that I noticed was that there were bits of drywall in the sink, and I pointed that out to the cops, but none of them really knew where it came from. We started looking at the door and the windows to see if she pried her way in somehow, but there was nothing. So we kind of just went with the idea that she had a spare key or something like that, even though the hotel front desk was adamant that there no way could have had the front key. The officer that came brought 2 more officers to back up because they thought the woman might still be in the vicinity, but after our statements were taken, there was nothing else they could really do, so they left. I've sat down to make some final phone calls to tell people, and as I'm on the phone, I'm thinking about the drywall in the sink and how it still doesn't really make sense to me. So I'm on the phone, looking at the drywall and the mirror on the wall right above it, and then it hit me. I got my coworker and asked her to help me pull at this mirror on the wall, and we took the mirror down, and there's a hole there, just big enough for a desperate junkie to squeeze through. I asked Brian and Rebecca if we should call the cops again to let them know that I found this, and my boss said there's still 2 cops in the parking lot. So I went down to tell them, and the female cop kind of rolled her eyes, but the young guy said, "I'll come check it out." They both came back up, looked in the hole, and found a pillow, blankets, cigarettes, clothes, toothbrushes. This woman had been living in the wall behind my mirror for God knows how long. She had access to me and my room at all times. I know it might be hard to picture. There was a crawl space about 2 feet wide in between the 2 rows of rooms. One of the officers called the original officer to come back and take pictures of this situation. She explained to him what's going on, and all I hear over the radio is, "No fucking way." He comes back, takes pictures, and it's just as mind-blowing as we were. Obviously, we were packed up and left immediately. What's even crazier is she'd probably been there for a long time. The last time we stayed at this hotel, I would randomly smell cigarette smoke, and I just assumed someone was smoking in their bathroom and it was traveling through the vents, but nope, a junkie was smoking just on the other side of my mirror. She had access to other rooms too. The holes in the walls were from a renovation, and the hotel hadn't properly patched and just covered up with mirrors. She could have been hanging out in people's rooms when they were gone. Anyways, this was insane, and I'm just taking a little time off, posting from mobile, so I'm sorry if the formatting is off. Close call in Ocean City. This happened around 2012, but I remember most of what happened clear as day. It's a long read, but a post to read earlier reminded me of this incident with people I never want to run into ever again. I worked with my girlfriend at a busy restaurant. We worked all the time and it was a stressful job. We took off a few days and decided to fly somewhere to get away from work, people, and the town in general. I'd found decent deals and flights to Ocean City, MD, for 2 nights. She had never been on a plane. We loved the beach and I could hit up all the local crab cake spots. It was perfect. We flew into Baltimore and rented a car to drive to OC. Nothing memorable happened the first day. We laid on the beach, hit up all the local shops, and had forgettable food. The second full day, we woke up and went to the most recommended spot for crab cakes, and on the way back, we stopped and got crab cakes to go for 2 other recommended places for later. We stopped by the hotel to drop the food off and went to the hotel bar for a few drinks. Note, my girlfriend at the time was a smoker and I hated it. She would also attract attention from guys, which I could deal with, but wasn't thrilled about. So we go to the rooftop bar at the hotel, and the bar itself is a 4-sided island in the middle of the patio. It's probably 2 p.m. and a clear sunny day. We pull up chairs and there's only a few women on the left side of the bar and a guy bartender behind it. We got obligatory house margaritas. After her first drink, my girlfriend felt like she wanted to smoke, but the girls and the bartender didn't have one to bum her. We got refills and smooged with the bartender about the area and things to do, but mainly kept to ourselves. The bartender seemed as if he was being fake. Something was off and I couldn't put my finger on it. A feeling of I don't really even want to run to the restroom and leave her here at the bar because I don't trust something. More than a few times, he asked us if we were staying at that hotel. I think I said no. The girlfriend said yes. He asked us what room at one point. Anyways, girlfriend went to use the restroom. A minute later, I heard guys' voices. I didn't realize there was a group of 3 to 4 guys that sat at a table directly behind us. They were either playing cards or just smoking, but they made some comments to her when she walked back. Great. We finished our drinks and we're Googling tropical drinks for her and area hotspots to check out. The guys came up on either side of us and talked to the bartender and got beers. You could tell they were either friends or regulars. I honestly couldn't tell you if they were when they came to the bar or came after, but they had a sleazy vibe. Me and my girlfriend ended up talking to one of the other couples at the bar that had come and sat down. It was nice to be away and just relax. We always like making new friends. I didn't realize it, but one of the guys came up and either brushed up against my girl or made a comment, and it rubbed her the wrong way. So in her infinite wisdom, she wanted to be bothersome to them and got up and asked to bum a smoke. I didn't realize it until I turned around and there she was, talking to the guy with his shirt unbuttoned and gold chains hanging on his chest hair forced. I didn't want her to associate with them, but if one gave her a smoke, I would get the guy a beer if it meant we didn't have to leave the bar to hit a store for smokes. She came back without a cigarette, mad. Apparently the guy kept asking, "What's in it for us?" and said, "Your boyfriend wants to fight us. Why would we give you anything?" I didn't want to fight them. I was on vacation and I wasn't paying attention to them, but I didn't like the implication of the other comment at all. Because we had a lackluster first day, I wanted to pack in fun things this day, so this drink was my last one. I asked for the tab, and the guy of the couple we met gave us his business card. He said we should meet him and his girlfriend at Secrets at 8 p.m. The guys behind us kind of swarmed on all sides of us and slammed down a pack of cigarettes, 2 smokes left inside, in between me and the girlfriend. They said something like, "Here." Then we ordered another round. We found it odd, but I thanked them and offered a shot. I don't even think they replied. One asked if we were on vacationing, then asked if we were staying at the hotel, then took the round of beers back to the table. I had a weird feeling, as if they were locals and didn't like us because we were visitors. Turning back to the bar, my drink was now completely full. Stupid me didn't even question it. I didn't want to refill, but figured the bartender taught me. I took a sip, and the drink was strong. I just closed out, so maybe it was a thank you for the tip? It was disgustingly strong, like rubbing alcohol, maybe even turpentine. I told my girl to try it. Boozy Susie over here takes a huge pull from my drink and nearly spit it back out. It was gross. She made a face and said, "It shouldn't taste like that." I couldn't even ask the bartender about it. He was gone. I don't know when he disappeared, but he was nowhere to be found. I can't remember if I fully finished the nasty thing. My girlfriend said something along the lines of, "The guys are staring, let's go." I was originally worried she was going to chat them up and thank them before he left, but she said she felt weird. The whole vibe changed. She wanted out. I remember spending a minute or two saying bye to the couple we were going to meet later and heading towards the doors into the hotel. The guys weren't at their table. Patio door, elevator, hotel room door, bed. My eyes open and I turn my head right. Alarm clock reads 3 a.m. I am face down in bed, on top of the covers. I push myself up, slide back off the bed and stand up. The sliding glass doors are wide open, as are the screen doors to the balcony. There's a breeze. I think, did girlfriend jump off the balcony? And in that millisecond, I hear crying behind me. My girlfriend is sitting Indian style on the floor with a clamshell of what's $40 worth of crab cakes in her lap, crying. She said she couldn't wake me. She asked me if I remember what happened. She said she had been sick and throwing up for 4 hours nonstop. What the hell happened? I bent over to sit down with her and got hit with a wave of sickness. I ran to the bathroom and puking for what felt like hours. By the time I came out, she was asleep or passed out again. This had to be a bad dream. I remember thinking that maybe we went to the club and got wasted and I blacked out. I went back to bed. We both wake up at 7 a.m. to our alarms. We had to take the rental to Baltimore and catch a flight back. We both had to be at work at 2 today. I was shaking. She looked like hell. We both felt like death. She was shook. She said the walk back to the hotel room was scary and didn't remember anything after that. Wait, what? Now, according to her, when we walked into the hotel from the bar patio, one of the guys was on a chair near the elevators. He said something to us, but the doors quickly closed. She said when we got to our floor, 2 of the guys were at the end of the hall, heading towards us. She said that we got in the room and they stood outside, out the door, and she thinks they knocked. Apparently, I laid on the bed and immediately was lights out. She couldn't wake me and passed out herself until she woke up to violently vomit for hours. My body was shot, I was shaking, and now I'm processing that these scumbags maybe followed us to our room. Part of me thought she was exaggerating, but you know how you have weird slow motion flashbacks? Well, I was graying out on the way to the hotel room. I remember one of those guys behind the elevator. Also, as she was brushing her teeth, her mouth was blue. I went to the mirror, so was mine. Neon blue. Neon blue. Nothing we had that day was even blue. I had light green margaritas and vodka and root beers. This was proof that something fishy had to have happened to us. We didn't know what to do. We had to get back. We couldn't stick around. We got to the car. I barely felt okay to drive, but I wanted to be home. We felt dirty. We were confused. And we went out of MD and swore we were never coming back. We missed our flight, explained the situation to the desk, and somehow got put on another flight back home. We sat in the airport for hours dying. The flight was painful too. We made it to work a few hours late that day. Nobody believed our story. And we thought we made it up just to justify being late, and we kind of never brought it up again. I googled to see if similar situations happen and found nothing. We googled blue tongue and saw it's a side effect of a drug. I'll be honest, I felt lucky we made it out of OC. I don't know if we were a target of a room invasion or a robbery, or if they wanted to attack or kidnap my girl. It could have turned out ugly in a lot of different ways. What if my girlfriend didn't take a huge swig? What if I drank the whole thing by myself? How close did I come to an OD or death depending on the drug and its interaction with alcohol? I swear the bartender was in on it. I did call the hotel and asked if there were any issues with people being drugged or room robberies there, and they said no, they have 0 incidences, and I think I let it go. I emailed the hotel from a throwaway email and told them to watch the hotel roof bar and bartender and never got a reply. I realize I wrote a ton, but that's my story, and I think about it anytime someone brings up OC. Creepy men at my hotel are human traffickers. I've actually had a lot of very, very creepy encounters, but I wanted to submit this one first. It was my 21st birthday, so 3 of my best girlfriends and I celebrated with a trip to NYC. To give you background, 2 of my friends, Lana and Molly, didn't get along that well. The third was and is my best friend to this day, Elle. My birthday is in December, so it was excruciatingly cold at the time of the trip. We were all staying in the same hotel room, can't remember the name. One night I was pretty tired and ended up going back to the hotel a bit earlier. I didn't want to ruin my friend's time and I was cool with them staying out later and going to a club. I went home to call my then boyfriend at the time and just relax. I also wanted to go back to the hotel because I was honestly emotionally drained. Throughout the day, Lana and Molly had been arguing on and off, not really about anything huge, just nitpicking because they presumably had very different and opposite personalities. I don't like drama, and being caught in the middle was just getting annoying to me, so I really wanted just to be by myself. So I'm back at the hotel, talking to my then boyfriend at the time. 20 minutes in, I got a second phone call coming from Molly. I answer and she's crying. She was always pretty dramatic, but of course I was concerned. Conversation went something like this. Lana's such a huge fucking bitch. I'm going back to the hotel to hang with you. Are you okay? What happened? We got into a fight in the cab, and I just don't want to deal with her. I'm heading back right now. Okay, be safe. When will you be here? In like 10 minutes. I'm getting in the cab now. Okay, see you soon. We can talk later when you get here. I hang up the phone with my boyfriend and tell him I'm going to hang out with her. She comes in a few minutes later and tells me about their fight. I can't even really remember what they fought about, most likely because it was petty and stupid. But we talked for a bit, and I told her we should just try to get some rest. It had been a long day, and I was over all the drama of that day, so we did. When Elle and Lana came back to the hotel, about an hour later, Lana was pissed drunk. She came in stumbling, yelling obscenities at Molly that I couldn't make out. Molly said something calmly, but to oppose her, Lana got really mad and kicked my suitcase really hard into the wall. This obviously pissed me off. It's one thing to be upset, but try to damage other people's belongings is definitely not okay. I had enough and wanted to leave. One of my other best friends who wasn't able to come had a sister who lived in Queens. Her family is like my family, so I texted her telling her the situation and asked if I could come stay with her for the night. She said, of course. So I snatched my suitcase and headed towards the elevator. It was slow, so I was waiting there for a few minutes. Moments later, Molly came bursting out of the room. I'm coming with you. No, I want to be alone. I'm sorry we ruined your birthday. I want to come with you. I don't want to be around Lana right now. She's being a bitch. Fine, whatever. The elevator doors open and we head to the hotel lobby. It was around 2 a.m. at this time, and given that NYC is always bustling, I was surprised to see there were virtually no hotel guests in the lobby. There was one man at the front desk and then another hotel staff member standing around. It was really cold outside, so I wanted someone to hail a cab for me. I asked the front desk if he could have someone do it for me, and he called the other man over and asked. The other man was pretty tall, maybe around 6 feet at least. Not overweight, but stockier for sure. He had a very short buzzed haircut and the most piercing blue eyes, but not the kind that are kind. They seemed completely off, and I remember thinking that even before he opened his mouth to speak to me. Where are you going? He asked and was probably a Russian accent. Even his voice seemed cold, like it lacked any warmth or friendliness. I kind of choked on my words. We're going to Queens. He paused. He moved in closer to me and got his face up in mine. I'm about 5'4", so he was definitely bending over a bit to get eerily close to me. To put into perspective how close he was, he could have easily kissed if he moved about an inch closer. Then he asked, is that just you two alone? I said, yeah, as I'm probably just trying to move my body backwards a bit to create some distance between us. He literally stared into my eyes for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only about 5 seconds. Then he just smiled. I remember feeling so creeped out and kind of just frozen. In my gut, I knew something was off. I looked at my friend who was obviously uncomfortable as well. It was like she was trying to tell me with her eyes that this man gave her the creeps too. Finally, he backed away from me. Stay right there. He then whipped out his phone and called someone. He was speaking Russian, so I don't know what he said. The whole time, his eyes stayed on me, and my friend and I are just feeling paralyzed. I was thinking, do we just run? I kept looking back at the glass door of the hotel entrance, hoping that by a miracle, a cab would drive by so we could just leave. He got off the phone after about a minute, and all he said was, someone's coming, don't worry. The irony, right? A few minutes later, another man entered the building. He wasn't dressed like a hotel staff member at all, which was my biggest red flag. Then he started speaking with a man who called in Russian. They kept nodding while speaking to each other while looking back at each other and then my friend and me. The man with the creepy eyes looked at us and said, he'll take you where you need to go. What? Go with him. He'll take you. Just then, I kid you not, I look back at the doors and I see a cab slowly inching up our street in traffic. Oh, it's okay. I see a cab right there. We're just going to take that. Thanks. I yelled as I grabbed Molly's hand and began running out the hotel to get into the cab. As soon as we got into the cab, we both looked at each other and expressed our fear for what had just happened. We both were really scared of the man and agreed that we thought something incredibly off about the man and the encounter. The first thing that came to my mind was maybe they were a part of a human trafficking ring. When I think back to that night specifically, I always thank God for that cab. It came just at the right time. I'll never know for sure what the man's intentions were. Since then, I've lived in NY, and I've visited again many times, and no hotel staff member has ever offered me personally to drive me somewhere. I don't know what would have happened had we gone with that man, but I have a feeling it would have not where we wanted to go. So, creepy Russian man at my hotel. Let's not meet.